Hey guys, welcome to the Being Beautifully Honest podcast and channel. Thanks for being here, being subbed. If you're not, hit the button. And if you're listening on YouTube, hit the like. It's like walking in the room and hitting that light switch. Let's brighten up the place and get into this Beautifully Honest reaction. I know the Terrill Hill docuseries. It's a 4-part series, docuseries. It's been out for a little minute now. I'm just getting a chance to really get into it and listen to it. I've been listening to it off and on most of the day, and I had a few people share it with me also to point out a few things. And let me tell you, I don't even know specifically why I talk about Larry Reid when I feel like I just want to talk about him, because I don't just want to talk about him. Honestly, there's nothing special to me about him whatsoever. I don't see what the draw is about him to the people that follow him, but I definitely am not falling for, no pun intended, the banana in the tailpipe, which we know that he either likes to give or receive, but he doesn't want to claim that he's gay, which to me is so ridiculous. But I get it, because his thing is religion, and he knows with the majority of the people that follow him, which are either black women or gay, bisexual, or closeted men, because there ain't no real straight men really following him like that in terms of following him to be like a fan or an actual follower. They might watch some of his stuff just to get some of the information about specific things, but they're not into him like that. But if he were to just come out and say, you know what, I'm gay or I'm bisexual, he knows that a lot of those women that follow him, as messy as they are, they wouldn't continue to support him financially, which is what it's all about for him. So he doesn't believe in labels. So he feels like he's being honest about sharing his past, quote unquote, past experiences. And then I talked about this before, and I'm going to reiterate it. I feel like the reason he talks about his alleged situations when he was a child being taken advantage of, I feel like he talks about that the way that he does. So it's to soften the blow when he discusses people playing with his, what he calls them, dingleberries, or him playing with other men's dingleberries, or him frucking, because that's the word that he likes to use, him frucking or getting frucked by a man, or getting, it's ridiculous. But to soften the blow for those women in his online so-called ministry, so they could be a little bit understanding about his male play, because it's like, oh, he's a victim. He was victimized when he was a child. He was touched, like they like to say in the church. He was touched. So I feel, in my personal opinion, that's why he talks about those things. I was about to say something, but I'm not even going to go into it. But I want to play and react to some of this commentary that Terrill Hill gave in his docuseries, because it really was eye-opening. He said a lot of things that I definitely do agree with. And one of the things that stood out, and I don't believe that it's in this part, I think it's in the next part, because I'm going to be playing a portion from part 2. I'll do a separate reaction to part 3, but I believe it was in part 3 where he was asking he was answering questions from people who were asking him questions. And his responses to one of the questions was that he doesn't believe anything's going to happen to Larry Reid, everything that happened in terms of him being held accountable, but anything that happens to him is going to be of his own doing. And I absolutely agree with that. Because one, even though I do believe Levontraye, unfortunately, I don't believe that anything is going to come of that in terms of the legal system holding him accountable. I believe that life and him just continuing to live and circumstances and situations happening in his life, that's going to hold him accountable. Him reaping his own harvest of the treacherous seeds that he's sown. I believe that that is going to be what's going to be his downfall. Similar to Trump. All of these trials and all of these charges and indictments and all of those different things like that, although it would be amazing to see someone like him who has not been held accountable for pretty much anything over the years, even with the judgments that he got in the E. Jean Carroll case for defamation and you know what else, will she ever see a dime of that money? I don't know. But with these trials, I don't believe that even if he's found guilty, he's going to see any time behind bars. I believe that ultimately life and the voters and being handled that way is what's going to be the ultimate for him not getting in office again. I don't believe that the courts, the justices, the Supreme Court or whatever are going to step in to stop him from becoming president again. I believe they're going to allow the voters to handle it. So with that being said, I'm saying that with regards to Larry Reid, I feel that it's going to be a similar situation with him where ultimately life and his own seeds that he has planted, that he has sown, is going to reap a harvest in his life. And I don't know, but if you watch this docuseries and you see some of the clips of Larry Reid and what he used to look like in terms of his weight years ago, and I get it, people lose weight, people gain weight, people change over the years, but I'm saying, I don't think he's on Ozempic. And I don't even believe that he's on some amazing healthy diet either and just working out. And he does not look like that to me. He looks like something else, but I'm just saying, you can draw your conclusions and your assumptions based on what you see. I will put the link to this part of the docuseries in the description box, but I want to play a part of this and give my reaction to it.
Grooming. When someone builds a relationship, trust, and rapport with a child or vulnerable adult to manipulate and exploit them in goal of making the victim feel comfortable and willing to engage in sexual activities, often over a period of time. Grooming is a form of emotional manipulation that can take many forms, including building trust and connection.
I'm in Fayetteville State University. A fellow named James Pittman. I was roommates with him. And he told me about this church with this young preacher that he would go to called Spiritual Breakthrough Ministry somewhere in the sticks. And one time, Larry was dropping James off, and I was hanging out the window at Fayetteville State University. And anyway, I'm hanging out the window in my wife beater, and Larry pulls up with James, and James said, "Oh, that's my roommate, his bishop. He's a minister." And Larry, being Larry, told James, "Oh, he ain't no minister. He out there with a wife beater on, hanging out the window." So James tells me that. And, by then, I'm a hothead. So I call Larry. "Who you think you are?" Talk about I'm not no minister. "You ain't no pastor." And that was that. Hung up the phone, life goes on. I felt led to go on a 10-day fast. I told you I've been fasting and praying all my life. So I went on a 10-day Daniel fast, and on the 11th day, it's time to eat. So it was a Monday morning around 11 a.m. I hop in my car to go to a soul food restaurant. I'm passing the Breakthrough Church, or Breakthrough Temple Pentecostal Holiness Church, I think 2015 Murchison Road. The Christ Crisis spoke to me and said, "Take a left right here." I pulled in the parking lot. I knocked on the door, and I said, he came to the door, and I said, "Hey, do you remember me?" "Yeah, come on in, man." And I was 23 years old at the time. And we talked for, good God, 10 hours that night. Had a couple of red flags because he had mentioned some sexual things on top. But I wasn't concerned with that because for the first time in my life, there was this young black man, sold out for God, who seemed a little feminine, a little gay, a little strange. So there was some familiarity there as well.
I don't know. I was about to say, I don't know many narcissists. I don't think I know any narcissists personally myself, but I've known of people who have been connected with them. And then, of course, I'm familiar with a few of them that we have been exposed to on television and just in life in general, like the former president. What is it about narcissists and sex? It's like they all, and it's power. It's power. But yeah, I found that interesting because Vincent mentioned how just in his meeting, in the first conversation that he had with Larry Reid, he already mentioned sex. They can't help themselves. It's a form of control and power. So I found that interesting when he mentioned that.
And very spiritual. And I was like, hold on. Oh, this is like me. I think I found home. That Wednesday, that was Monday, that Wednesday, I'm at their church preaching and prophesying, and I thought I found a friend. By that Sunday, I'm going to a 3 o'clock service or an afternoon service. He's going to preach. He preached, prophesied, and then Mako, Latrice, and all of them were there. And then we all go to his house. Everybody starts at his house, but Mako, Latrice, and Lisa walks up the block to Mako's house. Now it's him and I just talking. And we talked and we talked and we talked and we talked. And then Lisa, because they were not allowed to be there, because at the time I was a pastor. I was pastoring. So it's like, Pastor Reid, Apostle Reid, or what have you, got another fellow pastor at the house, so we don't need to be there. We submit. I remember him telling me, you see how the women left? Because they know when I have guests, they get out the way. So finally, Lisa called Larry and was basically like, hey, Larry, she called him Reid back then. Reid, I got to go to work early. I need to.
These narcissists also, I'm learning about them as I'm seeing these ones that we've been exposed to on television and in life in general, like the former president, like Kanye West or Yeezy or Ye, whatever his name is today, like Sean Combs, like even that meathead Martell Holt from Love and Marriage Huntsville. They like to talk about the power that they evoke. It's weird.
To be able to come back home. So we transferred the conversation to his car in the parking lot of the apartment complex we're in. Me looking for community, me wanting to be accepted, I started opening up, and I shared with him a grave mistake I made with my sophomore year's dorm roommate in college. And I cried. And he said to me, didn't that hurt you? Now, I need y'all to hear me clearly. Because out of all of the trauma that I experienced, the physical abuse with my mother, the spiritual abuse, the Truvine, no one ever asked me about me. They always asked me about how long it was going to take for me to go back to my ideal self or the me that everybody wanted me to be. But this man said to me, how did that make you feel? And I broke down crying. And I cried and I cried. Now I'm done. My void is filled to the rim. He could have drove and killed somebody, and I'd have been right there, ride or die. Because he, the abuser, the master manipulator, the darkest person I've ever been in relationship with in my life, asked me a question that no one else had the sense to ask about me. How did you stay? How did you get caught up in the sex cult? It was the demon that asked the right question. The saints were too caught up in the glory of Christ crisis to even understand this young man is hurting. So then we talked till like 6 a.m. Now Lisa is now texting because she needs to get in the car to go to work, and then we go back in the house. And I sleep on the couch. He sleeps on the floor. I remember waking up, and I looked at him, and he had an erection. And he said, "Oh my God!" It's like we woke up at the same time. It's interesting now when I retell the story because I have so much more data to be like, "No, nigga, you were being watched the whole time." Anyway, we happenstancely woke up at the same time, and he had a clear erection, not even trying to hide it. And he said, "Oh my God, this never happens to me. I can't believe I'm erected."
That is so disgusting. Oh, I don't even want the visual, but yeah, okay.
And I'm still I'm intrigued now, because remind you, now he's asked me about me. He's called up my real self. And I feel safe. He's very spiritual, and he's telling me stories about demons and prophesying and witches, and I'm just slobbering at the mouth now, because not only is he my age, he's my color, he has the spirituality that I want. That's why I was fasting a couple of days ago for 10 days. And he might be a little sweet. Oh, shit. It was probably a day or two later we was having full blown out sex. For those of you guys that understand, let me tell you the kind of sex it was. The lube was pink oil moisturizer. There was no condom. I didn't douche. It was filthy sex.
Oh my God. Oh. Again, don't need the visuals, but Vincent is trying to let everybody know, which I believe every word that he's saying, that, yeah, Larry, he gets down like that. He gets all the way down and dirty.
And to be honest with you, we had filthy sex. In the whole 13, 14 years, it was cocoa butter for lube, and I never owned a douche. The next thing I know, I look up, I've left my father's church, the church I was pastoring. It was his church I was pastoring. He was still in Germany. I resigned from it. Now, all of a sudden, I had to give back my parents' car. I was driving their car. Because remember, we're the poorest now. We're the poorest. There's no money. When I moved in with Larry, there was no furniture in the living room. Just beds and a kitchen, a random kitchen. So then I resigned from my church. Then they were taking me back and forth for my third shift job. They were like, "Well, you don't need to work no more because it's too far. It's a waste of time." And then when I look up in January 2004, I realize I'm away from my parents. I'm away from my family. I don't have any money. And I'm stuck. Why are you stuck, VTerrillHill? Because I thought for sure God called me there. So I never questioned this kind of slow dwindling of resources and autonomy. I just assumed it was God's will because this was the mighty man of God. I remember him watching porn, and I could watch it with him, but I was not allowed to watch it by myself. I remember saying, can we just look a happy medium here? Because I was enjoying the gay freedom that he introduced to me. He introduced to me the kind of porns he was watching. But I could not enjoy it without him. I guess he stopped. I just never seen him do it anymore. It's a good thing he never stopped. I don't know. Who knows? You have to ask him. Y'all go over this channel and ask him to never stop. I remember trying to kill myself. I took, I think, 10 800 milligrams of Motrin. Because people come off at the mouth, well, you were a grown man. Why didn't you try to leave? Oh, I tried to leave, all right. They had to take me to the emergency room and drink charcoal to make sure my stomach wouldn't get upset. One time I thought I was losing my mind, so I told them I was walking to the gas station. I called the paramedics to pick me up. I ended up at the emergency room, but he came and got me, I believe, or something like that. One time I called a good friend, Holly Hunt. I said, let's hang out tonight. I sneak called him. I said, pick me up after church. What he didn't know was I was trying to run away. And it just so happened, I went outside, because by then we got cell phones, we can text. And, or a call. I don't think texting was a thing. I don't know. Anyway, he called me, Holly did, or something. I'm outside. I went out there smoothly. Got in the car. I said, drive off real quick. And Holly knew what was going on. But then I told him he was game with it. Holly was being the friend that I needed. Holly Hunt was. But Nathan Locklear saw me getting in Holly's car. So when they started looking for me, he said, oh, well, and then at the time, Breakthrough Temple was up under the umbrella of the True Vine Ministries, where Holly went. So they were able to recognize who it was. So Larry called Bishop Jones from True Vine, whom I used to be a member of. And so Bishop Jones called Holly. Holly gave him the phone. Bishop Jones says, Minister Hill, you need to go back to your pastor. Bishop Jones never asked me why a grown man was running away from his pastor. To this day, Bishop Jones never asked. He told me as a 24-year-old man to go back to the place I was running from. Why? Because my current pastor called my former pastor, and the former pastor never thought, why is a grown man running away? So, of course, now Holly is compromised because his pastor's telling me I need to go back. So what did Holly do? He took me back. So everybody's like, oh, you were grown. You should have, rah. You have no idea what it is to be spiritually manipulated and caught up in a thing until you're in it. And when you try to run away, all of your friends are saved and they're going to obey pastor. And no pastor, and maybe if Bishop Jones was in the mind he is today, I've never talked to him, maybe he would have done something different. Maybe he would have said, Minister Hill, what's wrong with you? Just, you're a grown man. Go get a job, get your own apartment. Maybe he would have done something different. I don't know. I didn't know at the time that I was literally being sexually abused, emotionally abused, and spiritually abused, and that I had got sexually groomed into it.
Sexual abuse. Taking the sexual autonomy of another by force or manipulation.
I mean, this is all so disgusting. And to hear all of this that he experienced, granted he was not a child, I get that. But we already know multiple things can be true at once. And I'm not going to just brush him off like his alleged experiences with the current president. Not the president, but you know what I mean. That his experiences with this man who is like, is he the president and preacher of his MBN network, his church or whatever? But it's like, to hear all of these things that he has done with this person, and these people are still a part of his so-called ministry, is so disturbing. It's just so foul. It's so wicked. And he was groomed, like he said. I believe that he was definitely groomed, like he defined, like he explained. And he may not have been a minor, but my personal opinion is he was a victim of abuse as well. especially for him to be the pastor of the church and to be a so-called leader. How foul.
Let me tell you this, just because you get hard or you get wet, don't mean you're not being abused. Abuse occurs when you lose any part of your autonomy, not your sexual gratification. It's not about sexual gratification. It's about autonomy. What happens when I choose not to do it? If there is an ounce of disruption when you choose to speak up, then you need to check your autonomy and see if you're in an abusive situation. Some of you literally having sex with your pastor right now, and you're enjoying it, and you think you're the side piece or the boyfriend or the girlfriend, and you don't even know you're an abuse victim.
Wow. It's so deep. I'm not going to go into any more of this right now. I may go into the rest of it in a separate podcast episode, but this really, oh my God, I'm just so disgusted. I never was a fan of Larry Reid's. I never was a follower of his. It was just seeing him growing and then connecting with others like Armand Wiggins, like Tasha K's, Storm Monroe's, the other. All of this has been for his own selfish wants and desires. And now learning that he was fired from that show that he was on the BET network, which I never watched. But Vincent Terrill has said that he was indeed fired from that show after the Levontrayeandrews interview with Tasha K. So kudos for that. Because, yeah, this man is diabolical. And I saw in the comment section of this part of the docuseries where people were like, oh, you got him triggered. He's doing 3-hour lives and all this other stuff on other people's platforms. And it's like, if this man is a liar, talking about Vincent Terrill Hill, why are you putting all of this time and energy behind it? I don't see all of these people that Jaguar Wright has accused of all of these different things coming out to respond to everything that she has said. And it's crazy. But anyway, guys, I want to end it right here. I would really love to know what you think about this so far. We'll get into more of it later. But guys, thanks so much for being here, liking, and subscribing. I'm Beth, just being beautifully honest. So until next time, I wanted to keep it brief, beautiful, and now I'm going to say bye.